Adamantium Shadow Poe!
Hello, welcome to the Bronze Age Monsters bonus show. This is a show that for our patrons, you will get every other week in audio and video format. If you're watching this, you are doing the correct thing, which is seeing all the great editing and work that Matt puts in to each of these shows. No slight. I feel like I just slighted all of our fans that listen to it in audio format. That was unintentional. We love you equally. But we would like to, as Matt has said, this is a transition to what our next season is going to be. So eventually you are just kind of going to have the video format. So, move towards that as much as you can through this. Right, Matt?
Yeah, I think by the time we get to season 7, we'll probably be releasing audio versions of what we're putting out. As kind of a vestige of what we were, but it's really going to be a visual forward YouTube it's going to be a YouTube public facing show. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be showing the art that is not readily available to a lot of people and a lot of people don't have. So if you're okay with us just kind of talking about the art and that's okay, I guess.
It's okay. But yeah, like you said, next season, we're going to be talking about something that is not readily available at all. So,
yeah,
if you want to go
they're
back,
not hard to find, but they're not collected they've never been collected.
No. And they're not in the dollar bin like they used to be.
No.
At all. So,
and some people like Neil Adams and stuff drew some covers. And so some of them are key issues for people. So some of them are really hard to get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ditko did some, so, it's, yeah. But anyway, that's my long-winded way of saying that. Thank you for being our patron and watching and listening to this bonus show that Matt has lovingly called the Shadow Show. I think I'm going to start referring to it as the Shadow Show in my intro too. I think we should just stop bonus show altogether. What do you think about that?
Yeah, this is all about Delta. This is the change. This is the
change.
Right? So this is the season where we're figuring out what works, what doesn't, how we want season 7 to go. This is all trial and error. This is behind the scenes stuff. This is also, as I call it, the real party. This is a real party.
This is the real party.
Right.
This is for our friends. You get to see us. You get to see the cool shirts you're wearing. You get to see me sweating my fucking ass off because I live in the high desert and it's hot and we don't have great AC. So that's my gift to you, all of our loyal patrons. You get to see me sweat my ass off.
Yes.
So, but on this Shadow Show, we are going to be continuing our coverage of the first appearance of Ulysses Bloodstone. So, this show we're going to be talking about Marvel Presents #2. And when is this? This is cover dated. I know you always
December
have
of 75.
December of 75. Okay.
So yeah. So Marvel Presents was bi-weekly. Yes, and if you checked out our last episode, you know that we broke up because of the nature of the original stories. We broke up an issue into 2 10-page parts because that's the way it was written as a backup. And this is the first full issue, which was John Warner's one chance to wrap up all the loose ends of the story he had thought about for months and months and planned. And we decided we're going to do the entire issue in one thing and see how long it takes me to edit, how people like a long-form show, if it fits what we're doing. So let us know. We appreciate all the feedback you guys are giving us, by the way. Right?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's jump in.
Okay, so we got a cover here drawn by Rich Buckler with inks by Frank Giacoia. And I didn't know just visually, like I can usually get a pretty good sense in the 70s of who did what on covers. Did you know who this was? My first guess was like it looked like a rushed John Buscema to me.
That is probably what my first thought would have been as well.
But yeah, I mean, it's not my favorite Rich Buckler. I'm a fan of him in general. I feel like he can look a little rushed. This feels a little rushed to me in general. We're going to read a letter at the end, which is John Warner's letter to the fans that explains why Guardians of the Galaxy will be in the next issue and why he crammed a whole bunch of story ideas into one issue, and hopefully it worked. And we'll see if it does. We'll have an opinion at the end. So yeah, we're looking at this nice cover here from those folks that has Bloodstone facing off against that same strange creature we saw last issue, or last episode special, the astonishing origin of the man who cannot die. We got a glimpse into his origin. I'm excited to see the whole thing. Here he is facing off against that with the creature's back to us, and he's kind of a cool canted angle, a la Batman or something like that, as we're down like dog's eye view on the street. He's blasting away while that thing's blasting out of its rays out of its hands. The Curse of the Hellfire Hex. Don't love the cover.
I don't love the cover either. I think it's really rushed and perspective's weird. I don't know. Yeah, not my favorite cover of all time for
the
sure.
Bloodstone looks like a doily or something. Looks like something you get out of a quarter machine.
Yeah, it's not very impressive.
So we shall move on.
Yeah, we'll definitely move on. So yeah, like I said on the cover, the title of our story is Hellfire Helix Hex. Our cast of creators, story John Warner, artist lettering Sonny Trinidad, coloring George Rousseau, editor Marv Wolfman. We're, if you're a patron of ours, you are more than familiar with all of these characters, all of these creators. John Warner's done an amazing job. Obviously, we love him from Son of Satan, from The End of Living Mummy. Sonny Trinidad, also Son of Satan, and tons of other cool stuff. George Rousseau, we haven't had in a long time as a colorist. I thought that not since Werewolf by Night, honestly.
Yeah, I feel like, season 2, season 3, it feels like I'm sure he did something in Son of Satan, but it feels like forever.
It feels like forever. And then, editor Marv Wolfman. So, we basically start out just where we left off last issue with bashful Brad Carter leading over Ulysses. He's dead. The monster killed Bloodstone. Which, so I did laugh at this. So I'm looking at the panel, at the page. Then I read the narration. And the narration starts, which is a fairly accurate, if somewhat terse, recap of the situation. If you missed last issue, don't worry. You can pick things up as you go along. But right now, there's too much wonderment ahead to stop. I was also like, can you pick things up as you go along? Because this issue is a little hard to follow sometimes. But
it's hard to follow, and I read the last issue.
Yeah, I read the last issue. We loved, parts of the last issue. And it was very hard for me to follow along. So Carter over Bloodstone, weird kind of energy shading over all of them, creature standing before them. Yeah, so right as we left off last issue, last episode. And would
you say it's safe to say that the majority of this issue, like you're saying that, talking about the energy sheath around them, it's almost like they're all being electrocuted by the possessor, like delving into Ulysses Bloodstone's mind and like going into the depths of his consciousness, blah, blah. It also, like, this whole issue takes place over like 2 minutes. The dreams happen like super fast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. That's kind of how I read it as well. Like, they're always kind of like being electrocuted and like whatever by this power, and like all this stuff's happening internally. And it probably is a matter of like a 5 bulldog count, but there's a point where it breaks and like PDQ gets involved and stuff like that. But it feels like the majority of it just takes place in a millisecond.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And I think that makes a lot of sense because, it is an extended kind of flashback origin story, but it also makes sense like a dream makes sense.
Yeah.
So, or what you're feeling as you're being electrocuted to death.
Yeah.
So.
And also as like a higher consciousness is probing your mind, it's probably just sorting through terabytes or whatever, of information, of memory and stuff like that. And just like all processing it super in a way that we can't even comprehend.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's just get out of the way right now that if you have listened to the show, you know that we love Sonny Trinidad. We're going to find out the end from that letter from John Warner that he did this soup to nuts, pencils and inks in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I think he even mentions like, and it turned out pretty good. Like,
pretty good is his quote. Yeah.
The art's all over and mostly in the bad side of things, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is. But like you said, I mean, we ran into this with DAK, you know, to where at the end of their, you know, total magnum opus, they're just like, nope, cut it, finish it immediately. And so this is, Warner and Trinidad trying to tell that story that should have lasted 30 issues and just figuring out what to do with it. The letter, like you say, tells a lot about it. But yeah, that's our caveat going into talking about this issue.
Okay. So if I badmouth this throughout, folks, just realize that I have mad respect for Sonny Trinidad. I'll be showing some other art of his throughout here to back up that he is a genius and this is not his best work. So
yeah.
Okay, so next page, the creature is stressing that he is not dead, his body still lives, and Brad's like, so he's in a coma then, but why do you want, and he cuts him off, want power in red stone, but must learn more first, must see into past, learn more. And so he's diving into Ulysses' mind. Ulysses' eyes light up with the power of this. And then we jump back like we did 10 centuries to 8000 BC, which is I looked this up. It's the end of the Neolithic era. So it's just when we started farming and doing like agrarian type of stuff like that, the end of the hunter-gatherer period and starting into like small settlements. So It's a pretty accurate depiction of that, I think.
Yeah.
So the images unfold. We see that strange cloaked figure again, 10,000 years in the past. And so this is just a flashback to what we saw before, basically setting us up. In case you didn't read issue 1, good fucking luck. But the character we know as Ulysses Bloodstone existed 10,000 years ago as a kind of leader of his small tribe of human people. And he saw a cloaked character and followed him into a cave.
Yeah, so there is something that I do like on this page and on the next. I do like the not narrator, but at least just kind of like storyteller or main kind of character being in the front and the rest of the stuff happening behind them. Like I do like the possessor. Are we calling him the possessor?
Well, I mean, he refers
to himself as the possessor, right?
Yeah.
Ugh, I know. I hate doing it. Warner already did that. He already made a character called the possessor.
Yeah.
But that's okay. So yeah, I did like that. I did like him in the foreground. But yeah, you're right. This is just kind of a catching up page, as the next one is too. But the next page I actually like the next page very much. It's really cool. It's a splash page. It's awesome and strange. The upper 2/3 of the page is showing Ulysses kind of approaching the robed figure. Bottom third is showing what's revealed when the robe drops. And so, yeah, we see that the hooded figure has a terrible creature that had that kind of, weird octopi type, being that we saw before. And I do like it. Yeah, him in the foreground kind of talking after but I did like that. So on the top, yeah, Ulysses is about to, throw the spear at him, but what we're seeing below is after the robe drops and then we see this being. And I kind of liked that. I did. I thought this page was cool.
I did too.
Yeah.
I'm not wild about the way Sonny handled this character. I like the way he draws Ulysses. I don't love the way they handle this guy. So let's talk about him because he is a recurring thing. So let's name him. The creature in Bloodstone's mind probes deeper and discovers a name for the entity, which is neither man nor monster. Aluxel Quan Tasni? Yeah. So that is what it's called. And he comes up a bit, so we probably should just get that name out.
Uluxel? Should we call him
let's just shorten it to Aluxel.
Aluxel. I kind of feel like when I read this name, I was like, oh, John Warner wrote this name. He never said it out loud.
Yep.
Like, that's a weird thing to do when you're naming a character. You should probably say it out loud.
Yeah, I kept trying to read it backwards, find is there some kind of Mixoplixian like thing to it? Nope. It's just a bunch of weird, like Lovecraftian, just like your simple tongues can't even pronounce the syllables. You know, that's what he's going for. So,
well, it's true. We can't. Our simple tongues cannot pronounce the syllables.
Yeah.
So yeah, but Uluxel, we'll go with that.
However, when I do become a SoundCloud rapper, that will be my mic name, Uluxel Quantes Ni.
I download that.
So, it says the hunter that would be Bloodstone feels fear, but is a controlled fear, ruled by his hunter's instinct to protect and preserve and destroy that which might threaten those whom he protects and preserves. So he's freaked out by what he's seen. Obviously, he says, "Monster, die!" And Uluxel's eyes light up. He's obviously exerting some type of power. He says, "No, you will halt." It is not a spoken voice, but words which form within the hunter's mind. So he's doing some kind of mental whammy on him. And they start grappling, and again, I like the way Ulysses is drawn. I just don't love Uluxel's design or execution by Sonny throughout this entire thing.
No.
So they're grappling, and like Bloodstone's like, "Not possible. You are stronger." He's like, "Retain your pride, human. I have many powers you do not suspect. Powers I wish to share with you. I can make you a god amongst men." And he's fully got like pirate Captain America boots, like a sarong wrestling belt. Like he just looks a little goofy. And then he turns around this last panel, and I love that the panel, like the gutters are like energy crackles and like Doctor Strange Dickovian incense.
Yeah.
And he just turns around and gives us a nice shot of his ass.
Seriously, that yeah.
And he's like, "So that is power, that gem, and it can be yours. Immortality and power. Stand before it, human." So I know that Ulysses Bloodstone, who doesn't have a name yet that we know, is a simple man. It's 10,000 years ago. No book learning or anything, but I would be freaked out. I'm sure he still has a bit of a whammy on him, but this guy is shirtless, showing me his ass, and saying, "I want to put this rock in you," or whatever I wanted.
That's exactly what he's saying.
Yum. I don't want to yuck anybody's yum, but
no, because I mean, you know, it might not be for you, but it's definitely for somebody. So
it's
somebody
got a Bluetooth vibrator in it. Like it's, I control your ass.
Oh yeah, and also just the "stand before it, human." But he's pointing towards the Bloodstone, but he's talking about that ass.
Yes, he is.
Yeah,
worship my ass.
Worship my ass. All right. Yeah. Next page. So yeah, this is an incredible looking page. I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff that's going on here. The gem is shooting out a beam towards Ulysses. Or I just called the hunt. He's called the hunter now, I think, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, I can't move." And yeah, Uluxel is, I love it. Like, "Calm yourself, little man." I imagine like he's shouting everything too.
Yeah.
Like he's not a subtle being. And so she's like, "You shall not be harmed. Peer into the stone and view sights no human has ever known." And so
crossed arms.
Yeah, he did. The crossed arms is fucking hilarious. Like every time. And yeah, you're right. And so yeah, he's suddenly we're in Warner Trinidad, like cosmic stuff, which, I'm cool with.
Yep.
So yeah, weird. It's kind of like honeycomb type design panel in the middle. We see the hunter's eyes, and just he is understanding the cosmos. His words of the hellfire helix, the gem you see as a point in space through which those currents of energy that all the universe magics are drawn from, the forces that control and determine all the unnatural laws of the universe. And he who controls the gem possesses all magics. And then we have a little note says like, "Oh, see text page elsewhere in this issue where you'll get a really detailed explanation of what this gem is." And then but then it says, "But why the creature in Bloodstone's mind wonders, why use this human? If one called Uluxel possesses the Bloodstone gem and its powers, what possible use was this human who could become that self-same gem's namesake?" And then we see Bloodstone in that last panel just being his head being wrapped in tentacles and screaming in pain.
Yeah, it's a good question.
It is a good question.
I dig that middle section though, where like
It's
his
great.
superimposed eyes are just like horrified at like these things that would make a modern man mad.
Yes.
And he's kind of like, I know a couple mushrooms I can pick and I can hunt like a gazelle. Like I don't need this in my mind right now.
No, it's a little too much for him.
I do like that last panel where he's screaming.
Yeah, that was my note through looking at him. I'm just like, no, he only screams. Yeah.
So the next page, we cut back to the present. Again, in my theory, this is like 1/1,000,000th of a second later. So Brad is there, bashful Brad Carter. He says, somehow this field of energy is giving me an empathic link with that monster. I'm seeing this guy's past too and feeling it. So now this is like an electrical current, like they're all being shocked. And since Brad was touching Bloodstone, he's also having this empathic link. So he's seeing what the creature, the possessor, is probing. And so he's privy to it.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, in the background, PDQ Werner is watching, having a cigarette, while his crew is filming this because this is gold. Just men frozen.
Mm-hmm.
And so Brad continues, like, just like I felt that fear that guy felt when that thing, Luxley or whatever its name is, grabbed him with his tentacles. Lord, it's horrible. I've got to get free. So he tries to tell PDQ, like, hey, help me. And that causes immense pain, like a shock collar on a dog. He's like, okay, Ixnay on vocals. That creature may be too wrapped up to talk to me, but it gets its messages across just the same. So for some reason, he can't speak or communicate. So they're all just kind of like, again, like being electrocuted, like tased, and just like frozen in place while this thing is happening. Then we cut back to the place. But it's good for Brad because he's curious to learn more about this Bloodstone dude. And then I also love this note that like while Brad was trying to talk to PDQ and like have him get help and he broke his concentration, he's like, oh shit, I missed a scene. So Bloodstone seems to have escaped Octi and returned to his own people. So now what?
That was funny.
It was like he went to the bathroom and got some popcorn. He's like, what happened while I was gone?
Like, shit. Something important happened. I thought that was funny.
That made me laugh.
Yeah. So, yeah, and we see on the next page, the hunter returns to his village. Yeah, I like, so he returns to his village empty-handed. And his rival's like, hunter returns, something wrong. And he looks, yes, something wrong. Yes, hands are empty. No meat for evening fires. No fur to store for cold months. Yet he calls himself provider, tribe's master hunter. Bah! And throws his spear at Bloodstone's feet. Says, not even come back with spear. Maybe take Torgs, if man enough. Maybe time, tribe, and new master hunter. What say you, blonde hair? Like,
shit, he pulled out a Chris knife.
Yeah, seriously.
I got a battle to the death.
Answer me. And then so I love it, but we realize that Luxel is has possessed like a woolly mammoth.
Yep.
And has sent him over the hill to has come charging over the hill towards the village. Which I thought was funny. I loved him hovering like kind of behind and above the woolly mammoth.
Yeah. So this, like, there's a lot I like about this page, but for me, it just felt like, a lot of this felt slapdash. Like, I felt like just Sonny's brush choices for inking were just kind of like, okay, what if I get a bigger brush? What about a bigger brush?
It's all bigger.
Like, look at those panels, like in the middle, separating him from the challenger to that cool point of view of like the spear striking the ground. Like, it's like a quarter of an inch thick.
Yeah, it is. It's I know.
And it's just adding weight to try and make this look less rushed, in my opinion.
Yes. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's absolutely what he's doing. So yeah, Sonny was on a time crunch and he did his best.
Yeah. But I love that panel with his foot and the spear striking near. Like, that's a cool fucking panel.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Okay, so on the next page, this Luxel possessed mammoth storms into the camp. The hunter knows who summons the creature appears and realizes, even at this stage, that anything is possible for such a master. So he's already like Ulysses, or the man that would be Ulysses, is smart enough to realize what's going on, grabs Torg's spear and starts charging towards this thing, realizing this is Aluxel doing something. This is a test. This is an attack. And so even pitting frail humanity against such monstrosity, the hunter doesn't question this faith he places in such powers. And so Bloodstone just goes all in and grabs this thing by the trunk and swings it around. So he is like nearly Hulk strength because of his exposure to the Bloodstone.
Mm-hmm.
And so he slams it down and then he picks it up like by the tusks. And that fucking panel is amazing. That's one of my favorite panels in the entire book. And then it says, yet that and other questions remain unanswered for the nonce. For sadly, there are questions that this man who will become Ulysses Bloodstone failed to ask himself at the time. And he just grabs this thing, picks up a woolly mammoth by the tusks, and then whips his torso around and snaps its neck.
Yeah.
How strong?
It's pretty fucking strong. Yeah, those bottom two panels, I mean, yeah, the musculature on Bloodstone and but I love that, it conveyed this, well, like you say, like it's an amazing thing that he just did, swung this thing around and cracked its neck. But our focus is on Bloodstone. Like you don't really see too much of the mammoth in either of those panels. And I think it's a cool storytelling choice.
Cool focus shift, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good call.
So yeah, after that, the villagers are just stunned. They're just like, oh shit, he just killed this mammoth with his bare hands. And and then I love this. So he gets his monologue in. He's just like, he's crackling with energy. He says, "Listen, I have great power, but you too can have such power. Gods, ancient and wise, have blessed us this day. Behold, are my hands empty now, Torg?" And he fires like an energy bolt and says, "Bashwak." Again, I loved that. It says, but Torg doesn't answer. All present are still desire welling up inside them. Which I thought was a funny note. And so he's just arms outstretched, just saying, "Come, the gods reach out to us." So I love this. I mean, this is a power move he's doing right here. This is asserting his alphaness as about as cool as you can do that.
Yeah, so he's embraced this power that's been given to him by Aluxel.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like fully manifesting, right? Like he's like glowing with it. So he's getting stronger and stronger. It seems like as each panel goes on. But that last panel, he's glowing like white with a hue of red instead of just red. Like he's just getting stronger and stronger, becoming a god, essentially, it seems like. Yeah,
and I do like that last panel. I mean, aside from him glowing, how you have the red and then the white layer around him. And it's a cool background. It's just, black with like little stipples of white, which I really like. I think it's a cool effect.
Yeah, and I did like some of the choices that Sonny did, like in his knowing that he had a short time, like making that choice on the bottom left to have no background because you don't need one, right? Like it doesn't have any function. And the next panel, he's manifesting this power out and blowing up like this hilltop. So you need to ground that in the environment. That makes sense, right? Like it's very economical to a fault, but he's still like a great artist, even if he's like cutting corners left, right, and sideways.
Yeah, which he is.
Yeah. Okay, so again, we cut back to the street. The present cut. Oh, sorry, it's John Warner. Cut. The present. the subject. Empathy. To wit, Brad Carter, entrapped in the energy field surrounding the monster whose mind now probes Bloodstone's past, is empathically experiencing those self-same yesterdays. Result: the madness Bloodstone felt begins to flood his consciousness. So now like the empathy link is so strong that he's starting to feel what Bloodstone felt in the past, which is overwhelming. He's starting to feel like he's maddened by it, the power, the whatever. And so he's like, it's exasperating. Sorry, this is PDQ saying it's exasperating. My star is trapped and the police aren't doing a thing about it. What's Brad up to now? And Brad's grabbed the gun and a crewman says, like, I don't know, it looks like he's picking up that guy's weapon. But did you see the look on his face? And then Brad just takes this fucking boomstick and starts pointing it back at his friends. Like, hey, he's pointing that thing at us. What's he doing? What's he doing? It's like, and he's just going nuts, just shooting. And the recoil, this is obviously like an elephant gun because it's so strong. It sends him like spinning, like in a full loop in the last panel as he's screaming out of control. Such a weird note. This whole present with unconscious Ulysses is so weird in this issue, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's totally weird. And yeah, that bottom, I did like just the batshitness of that bottom row of panels of him firing. But again, I feel like, and I don't know, maybe this is an economical way of Sonny doing something fast. But just like with the mammoth, I love, like, on a lot of the action scenes, it's a real tight focus on just the center of what's going on. So all we're seeing there is the gun and his hands, basically. I actually think it kind of works. It's interesting. But I know he's doing it to save time.
Yeah, and it can be both, right? They're not mutually exclusive.
No, not at all. But yeah, So on that last panel, it's just, I have a question before we move on. That middle left panel when he's picking up Ulysses' gun, what's up with his pocket? Those aren't jodhpurs, are they? Like, why does it look like he has a dildo in his pocket? I don't know, but you see, there are weird folds. He's excited sideways, which is, I mean, that's a good trick. I'd like to learn that trick. Oh boy! But yeah, no, you're right. But in other panels, he has weird folds, like kind of coming out of those pants. They are like weird jodhpur like. I don't know. Yeah, it's weird.
Action pants. Action pants.
Action. I have action slacks. I love me some Sears action slacks.
Yeah.
Those things.
I love those things. You can do karate kicks in those.
You can do karate kicks and spill like motor oil on them. And they're totally
I never did
fine.
that.
Yeah. They are plastic coated. So anything just flies right off of them.
Oh, I just used to wear them like when I listened to Guided by Voices records, so I could do like Bob Pollard kicks.
Yep.
I'm only half joking.
No, I don't think you're joking at all, actually. But so next page we realize that the shotgun blast has freed Brad from the spell. So he explains. So he's just on the ground, like kind of in pain. PDQ is like, Brad, are you all right? Speak to me. Brad's like, I'll live. It's like the kick from the bloody shotgun. Must have broken my arm in about 3 places, but the explosion disrupted the energy field, so it let him out. And so, cops are running towards him. But then he's like, trouble is I have the gun, but Bloodstone still has the shells.
I didn't get that note. Can you explain that to me?
So
like, why does he need shells?
I didn't understand that. Well, I guess maybe to defend himself from the possessor or whoever that guy is. But you're right. It was a note where you're just like, huh? Why does he need those? But I don't know. Maybe he's just a guy that always likes to be armed.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a man's man.
Sure.
But so the cops are going over and like lifting him up. Already has put a sling around his broken arm. And he's just like, relax, mister, you're going to be fine. He's like, forget me, blast it. What about that monster? Isn't anyone going to do anything? And I like it. This is a great cop note. He's like, we're going to wait and see. That's always what you want a cop to hear, to say, you know. He's like, we're going to see what it does. If it tries to leave the city, then we can attack without endangering so many lives. If it decides to stick around, and I know. And then, the possessor's like, human escape, not care, not need. Now, no more interruption. Then we get a pretty cool panel at the bottom there. I gotta say.
Very Son of Satan.
Yeah, very Son of Satan. So back to Ulysses' vision, we see like a horde of like tribesmen or cultmen, I don't know, standing in a circle around the Bloodstone.
Oh, wait, I thought it was Ulysses' village or something.
It is, it's like tribesmen, right? Like it's his whole village.
Yeah, it's like it's his whole,
Yeah, it's this whole thing. They're standing around, standing in a circle around the Bloodstone. And Yeah, it's like, yes, perfect. Stand completely still. Let no one move. The spell begins to weave its web. And on the right, yeah, we have this horrified visage of Bloodstone, which I like that panel. Even though you're right, the lines surrounding it go from like an eighth to a quarter inch thick.
Yeah. And that seems to me like it's a stylistic shortcut thing where it's kind of like and we'll just fill this out with a and there, done.
Yep.
Page 18.
Yep, there we go.
Like, yeah. But I do like him looking at us horrified in that golden hue cast.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I have to confess, I've read this a couple times. I don't fully understand. Maybe it'll become clear later. Alexil's plan, because it seems like he has this incredible power, and he comes here and he offers it to the first humanoid, hairless ape he meets, and it bonds with it. It works.
Yeah.
And so he's made the Superman. And so his plan seems to be now let's do it to everybody in the tribe. And I don't understand why he's giving power to everyone yet. Does that make sense to you later?
It does not make sense to me.
I never understood the motivation for doing this.
No, it makes no sense.
We might learn it later. This might be a casualty of this book the story getting cut, canceled. Maybe he had a bigger plan and he'll explain it. Maybe it happens later and Rampaging Hulk will find out. So the next page, we see, like you said, the whole tribe has been lined up. They're standing around the Bloodstone, just like Ulysses did. And we see Alexil say, now! And energy shoots out all which ways to all the tribes folks.
Yeah.
And they're all being thrown hither and thither and yawn. And then we get on the bottom half of this page some cool kind of cosmic horror stuff.
Yeah.
So suddenly the tribesmen's minds are filled with sight they cannot comprehend. It begins as a trilling, pulsating louder and louder, tearing at their skulls. For although the experience is sight, the assault is sonic, and yet it is neither. So we get the sense that they are not prepared. They're not built to take whatever the message was that Ulysses got. It's something which originates in the depth of the mind and radiates concentrically outward in ripples. And we see the people just kind of just writhing. There's red energy fields around them, but they're just writhing in pain, just screaming and shrieking, whatever. This is the opening, the Ark of the Covenant or something like that. This was not meant for them. So they're writhing around agonizingly, whatever. And then we get this cool bottom panel with that same kind of idea of this Dickoian cosmic web, which is also facets of the Bloodstone, the lines of the facets of the gem, but with energy. And behind that is Ulysses Bloodstone just screaming in terror in the cosmos, his disembodied head. It says the result is chaos. And he's just realizing, my whole tribe's fucked. I survived this trial wherever this was, and they're not. Yeah,
they're not going to. No, you're right. The cosmic stuff I really dig. And I do like the energy web being the facets of the Bloodstone too. I think it's a really cool touch.
Yeah. Lots of little cool design elements like that through this. That just, again, this feels super brushed, right? These kind of just scary lines making Bloodstone facets in space. Give this guy 2 more weeks. If he'd had a month to work on this book, this probably would have made us cream our jeans.
Yes, absolutely. No, because Sonny can do it. Sonny is an amazing artist, and we've seen it time and time again with him. We've covered a lot of his stuff, actually. Yeah. And this is, it's just a rush job.
Yeah.
So next we get the letter, but I'll skip to the next page. So Ursula is saying, they're going berserk. Their minds cannot take such input. Their consciousnesses will not expand enough. The damage has been done, and it's irreparable. So he's saying that the human I used before must be exceptional. So he's assuming that everyone is like Bloodstone, but this is not the case.
Not the case.
He says, cursed be the fates using their geometric formation. In mere moments, I would have had the full power of the gem transmitted to me. I would have been a god, but now the formation is broken. And so, Ulysses is still standing. He says, you kill my people, trick me. We'll stop. And he's reaching towards, he's leaping towards the Bloodstone. Alexa's like, no, get away from that. Then we get a giant, boom. a giant explosion. It says, for a brief instant, the mind of the monster probing Bloodstone's past becomes tranquil, calm. The chaos of mere moments before is no more, and the gem's fragments have been scattered to the far horizon. So this is a big plot point.
Yes, it is.
That is just one of the biggest plot points, honestly, of the whole Bloodstone saga that will be going forward, is that all the shards of this giant stone have been scattered to the far horizons, which is really as far as horizons go.
Yeah. So the impression that we get, that we're supposed to get, is that a human form making contact with this cosmic gem was like some kind of transgression. Mm-hmm. And so touching it made it shatter and made it explode. And so, like you said, a huge plot point is that these shards went all throughout the known world. The Hellfire Helix Hex thing is a big part of this, why that's important, because these are power sources, different power things, much like the Infinity Stones, almost like different aspects of power that go through them cosmically. So this is a pretty powerful artifact that early man just destroyed and sent broken pieces of all around the world. Okay, so on the next page, I do like this top panel here. There's two panels where the possessor is mirroring Ulysses Bloodstone's pain and rage and whatever's going on in the past. So all the fragments save one. So in the explosion, one embedded itself in Ulysses' sternum. And so since he was this exceptional human, for some reason we don't know why, he could bear the cosmic powers that were granted to him by Alexel. And so he can also bear having this gem touch his human mortal flesh and be embedded in it and not die. And so that becomes important later. And so in the present, Possessor is echoing this pain, the empathy that he's feeling. The monster remembers it's too late as the Bloodstone's power reaches out, envelops him, and drags him screaming into the heart of the gem. So now we go inside of Ulysses' gem in his chest in a kind of weird, like, mind palace type of situation. And so this cool panel at the bottom, this huge panel, and again, we have that same idea of like the facets of the gem being like a web and contours. And Ulysses is there looking like a badass pulp action hero in his modern garb, and he's facing off against the Possessor in this kind of Decoian space other realm. And he says, allow me to fill you in on the rest of the story. The epilogue, you might say. The villagers were all killed in that explosion when I blasted the gem. But death was a blessing compared to the hell Alexel had just put them through. I love that idea, again, of like forbidden knowledge, all this stuff, like just driving them utterly mad, that kind of, Lovecraftian concept. But for some reason, I was different. So I survived, and a chunk of that stone planted itself on my chest. Mystical energies still pass through it. Energies that keep me alive even after 10,000 years. I hope you're satisfied now, monster, because this body isn't yours to take. So they've kind of like dropped into this like sub-dungeon, video game terms, like this like dungeon realm to have this little battle, like mini boss battle, where he's saying like, you're out of your depths, Donnie. You're out of your element.
Yeah, you're out of your element, Donnie. Exactly. Yeah, I liked that too. And you're right. The top two panels of mirroring, the past and present is really cool.
Yeah. And I think the bottom half is great.
Yeah, it's great. And then, it kind of continues next page, and they're fighting among kind of facets that, maybe could have been done a little bit better. But this is the idea of the layout of this page is really great. The execution didn't quite get there. And so, they're fighting, and Ulysses in the end is just like, I let you probe my past after your blast down me while I gathered strength from that mind link. I forced you in here with me, in here where things are more relative and we're on equal terms. Or haven't you noticed we're both the same size? I
love that writing note. I did not even notice that until he called it out. Like, that's right. Like, you shrunk the monster down because you're in your realm.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool too. And the professor's like, man, no weapons. Bloodstone's like, you still don't understand. I don't need weapons. Not here. This is my holding ground, and I hold all the aces. And it gives a big like sock and just lands a real punishing blow to Possessor's jaw.
So while I agree with you that like the layout is a great idea that wasn't executed perfectly. I think that all of the vignettes of this battle and all of the dynamism and the action are fucking amazing.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, the dynamism in this page is great. Like this really works.
That last panel, like his physical form is he's punching so hard his body's twisting through with the momentum of it. Like, god damn. Like he spent most of the time on this page, honestly.
Yeah. No, you're right. I really think he did. Yeah, very, very cool.
So yeah, back on our world, on our realm. Bloodstone's finishing his thighs, saying, "You're defeated before you begin." Bloodstone explains, "For though it seems our battle is physical, that element is merely a convenient and analogous illusion. It is our minds which do battle, not our bodies." So again, reinforcing like this is not actually happening outside of this realm. Mm-hmm. And so then Brad's back there with his sling on, saying, "Look, Bloodstone's gem, it's glowing." And then we cut back into that world. Part of like, we'll talk about the end. So the creature's back inside the gem world saying, "Have power still." And he's shooting power at Ulysses. And he's like, I still stand. Your powers are of no use to you now. Hands on his hips, like his gem glowing, taking this energy blast from the Possessor, seemingly unfazed by it. As he punches him in another great action panel that would make Wallace Wood have a boner. It's finished, monsters. It's pointless to go on. You have no more resources. And he seems to have bested this saying. He's like, "It's your choice now. We can end it here, or you can continue until I'm forced to destroy you completely." And the creature says, "No, not like this." And he's like down on his hands and knees, kind of cowering in this gem world. All the action sequences work for me really well. The actual depiction of action.
Yeah, no, the depiction of action on this page especially. I mean, but last page and this page are great. Like all the different viewpoints too, ending on that one to where we're above Ulysses and the Possessor, and it's really, really cool. Still some of the facet gemstone stuff on the layout in the bottom too. Now, this is cool. Yeah.
I think that works. Like that kind of idea of like that drone just kind of flying around and just catching all this, like, before that technology existed, like comics artists did that for decades before technology could do it.
Yeah,
so
no,
cool.
Yeah, and Trinidad did a great job on that, especially on that page. So yeah, next page, I do like Warner's narration. It says, "It's like the reversal of the old cliche. The body is willing, but the mind is weak. The monster has been pushed to its limits. It still hasn't come to grips with this quote unquote environment of the mind created within the Bloodstone fragment that gives this viper of the id a physical simulation and physical vulnerability, and the monster is pushed beyond its limits." So that panel where the monster is just about to go, and it's all colored in red. I love Ulysses' anger coming out of his face. And then cool. It's really cool. And so it's blowing up, but also in the Mind Palace it's blowing up, but outside it's just like turning to crazy mist in a way. And so back to Bashful Brad, he says, "That does it. Get the guard in here. The place is turning into a blasted battlefield." That's what a cop says, sorry. And Brad says, "Wait a minute, I think I see something moving." We hear this, anguished cry from the Possessor. And then suddenly Ulysses appears in the mist. And the cop's like, "My lord, no one could have possibly survived." And then Brad's like, "Chum, I'd like you to meet a sort of acquaintance of mine, Mr. Nobody." And then, Ulysses is standing like a badass right there.
Dude.
Yeah.
I love that depiction of Ulysses there. He's so cool.
Wow. He looks so good.
The green mist clears and he's just there with his shirt unbuttoned.
Just badass.
All
gem
sexy.
glowing. Yeah.
God damn. All right. So, epilogue. Cop saying, "Well, you're not the most talkative guy I've run into in the city, Bloodstone, but I don't see any reason to hold you. You're free to go."
The cops in this issue.
Think of what we've seen these last two, episodes, whatever. Like, there was a giant orange monster. They were fighting. They leveled half of like Fisherman's Wharf. And the cops kind of like, "Well, we know where to find you. You're good."
Yeah, it's the same cops from If the Living Colossus.
Yeah,
just totally. Like see all this shit, and they're like, "Nah, you got it. We'll see you later."
Yeah, we're good.
You're good.
No, we'll get a big broom.
Yeah.
Endings like time itself, a man-made fabrication to break up what never really ends, but only quiets and evolves. A little philosophy like that from him.
Yeah.
So Brad's finally coming up. He's like, hey, hold up a minute. I don't know if anybody's stopped long enough to say it, but I'd like to thank you for trying to save me, even if I can't figure out how you defeated that thing. If you recall, it was you who first, And his gem starts glowing. He's like, I can feel the sensations in my head. They won't let me rest. This man is somehow tied into my future and my quest. Somehow our destinies are to become intertwined in the days or months ahead. And Brad's looking at him as he's having this cool manga reverie. And he's like, is something wrong? Very Japanese looking kind of depiction of Bloodstone looking down as he's thinking these cool thoughts.
Yeah.
Or anime, whatever, He's like, oh, nothing. And then PDQ comes in. You're in fine health. Stick with me, Buana. PDQ has plans for you. Gagoom, Monster of Menace, starring Brad Carter and Ulysses Bloodstone. I like that name. You can name your own terms, fella. How about it? And he's like, I'll call the studio right now and get everything set up. I knew this picture needed something. And he's like shoveling Brad off. And Brad's like, yeah, like a director. And meanwhile, Ulysses in the foreground is looking directly at us going, I must wait. And this opportunity will allow me to stay close to this man, Brad Carter, until I can determine our link. Endings never come. The only end, ultimately, is death. Finn. And we're notified at the bottom here, next issue, because you demanded it, the most star-spanning series of all, The Guardians of the Galaxy. So, that was it.
Yep.
I enjoyed plowing through it with you on that third read much more than the first two reads, I'll tell you that
Yeah,
much.
it was rough. It was rough reading this a couple times and not, chatting it up as we're doing it. Yeah, this is a rough issue. But not to belabor that point. But you want to read some of the letter that explains what the hell's going on?
Yeah, so when we ended last season, we had kind of a scriptment of what Scott Edelman was going to do with the Scarecrow. And it was really exciting to read through there, and people seemed to enjoy hearing what was planned for that character, even though they never got it. So let's do the same thing. We're going to trade off paragraphs and just kind of go through this letter from John Warner explaining why the book ended and hopefully like what he was trying to convey. And maybe he'll have a chance to tell some of that story in the future, which we know, spoiler, he does. All right, so this is from the letters column called Reader's Space. And it has a copyright infringing spaceship that looks very much like the Enterprise.
Yes, it does.
I'll take the first paragraph.
Of course.
Okay. Of Helixes and Hexes by John Warner. If you've just finished reading this issue, you've now been given your introduction to a curious man by the name of Ulysses Bloodstone. It's cheating, literally, to go back after the fact and explain something you've written outside the context of the story itself. As of late, this practice has come under a compromised legitimization with such classifications as behind the scenes and such. But it's still cheating. And I'm about to join the ranks of offenders because there are some things which I would like to say. By the way, if you haven't read the whole issue, stop reading this and do so. We're not going anywhere.
Len Wein and Marv Wolfman came up with the spark that would become Bloodstone, the premise of a man who fights monsters. And together he and I began to develop a series idea to take up 10 pages of Where Monsters Dwell. The first issue of Marvel Presents was in fact compromised to the first two 10-pagers intended for Where Monsters Dwell. After a one-issue pinch hit by Mike Vosberg, Pat Boyette was to be the artist. Things don't always work out as one envisions them. It was probably a mistake, and if there is blame to be taken, I do so willingly. But I planned out a storyline that, building up slowly in 10-page chapters, would be grand and epic and sweeping in scope. As early as the first episode, I was planting varied and vague plot threads. It was all going to be very cosmic and complex.
Like I said, things don't always work out as one envisions them. The series, a victim of the same cancellation move that claimed another series I was doing, The Living Mummy, was shelved before the first episode could appear. Well, that was that. Only it wasn't. I had put a lot of work into Bloodstone. I didn't stop thinking about him just like that. And as I thought about him, ideas changed, evolved, synthesized, until one day I was suddenly told that Bloodstone would be given a 2-issue tryout in Marvel Presents.
Now, I had to work out a second issue that would tie up the loose ends as much as possible. But so much time had passed, a couple of months can be a long time in figuring out ideas, that my vision of the character had changed immensely. And so with this issue and his origins, he begins to evolve.
Setbacks. Some bad health and a trip to the hospital delayed the job for weeks. Ultimately, when it was finished, Pat Boyette was tied up and couldn't do it. Only at Marvel can one get 3 artists on a book that only goes 2 issues.
The assignment went to Sonny Trinidad, who is very good, but you don't need me to tell you that, as you've no doubt seen his work on The Land That Time Forgot, Gabriel the Devil Hunter from Haunt of Horror, and The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad in Marvel Spotlight 25. In spite of having about 2 weeks to pencil, ink, and letter the entire job, I think it turned out very well.
I forgot he lettered it too.
Yeah.
Good God. Okay. Unfortunately, I had myself in my own bind. In the first 2 episodes, I laid the groundwork for this grand sweeping epic that was mentioned before. And all of a sudden, I had to tie it off in 18 pages. It's an epic you'll only get to see if this book continues. I chopped it off at a good stopping point, but there are still necessarily some loose ends.
For instance, the introductions of Brad Carter and PDQ. There may be a handful of you out there that might even remember their first appearance in the Marvel Universe way back in Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. 2. Yes, believe it or not, I did have a reason for reintroducing them. A reason that for the nonce will go untold. 2 other characters from the dim past would need to be reintroduced to make the telling complete, so we'll just leave it there.
I thought maybe we, at some point, should probably do that. Like, I looked at the issue. It's a Stranko, obviously.
Yeah.
But like, it's a very succinct part of the issue. It's like 3 pages. So I thought maybe we could do this, but like for meeting Brad and PDQ.
Sure.
And the woman that's he marries, Tiffany. There is one thing, however, which I feel deserves some added explanation. A concept we really didn't have room to explore. Originally, an entire story would have revolved around it. The Hellfire Helix.
The Hellfire Helix is, as stated, a point in space. In this case, the original Bloodstone gem, which was guarded by Ulysses 10,000 years ago, through which pass bands of energy, the energy from which all magic and all unnatural science is drawn. These streams flow through the universe, binding everything together, like blood coursing through one's body. If one possesses the helix, one may conceivably utilize all those energies passing through it, as Ulysses did.
But then Bloodstone shattered the gem, which does not, by the way, alter the gem's properties. What happens in the breakup is that each section has only certain currents going through it, certain wavelengths of magic, that are limited to specific functions. In Bloodstone's case, it has kept him alive for 10,000 years.
Ulysses wants that portion of the gem which has grafted itself to Bloodstone. Bloodstone wants revenge. For 100 centuries they have been playing a deadly cat-and-mouse game, neither gaining a lot of ground.
This, then, is an integral part of the storyline. Ulysses has a couple of pieces of the gem, and Bloodstone has one, and there are many, many more hidden about the globe. These pieces of the gem are what Ulysses was after, and Bloodstone is determined to prevent him from getting them. This would bring into the conflict the people and places that have, by one means or another, come into possession of these pieces, as well as the monsters to which the gem fragments are inextricably linked.
There is still much ground to be covered, and maybe we will. We're ready anytime you are, and this time, hopefully, there would be one consistent artist for the book. Let us hear from you. It says the address is, I like the address is Bloodstone. Marvel Comics Group.
I feel like I don't begrudge him like 18 pages of trying to wrap some of this up at a acceptable stopping point, but like the Hellfire Helix thing, I still don't get why Ulysses. So this is all right. Let's real talk. So is this fucking around with like Von Daniken and that type of stuff, like the superior life form coming down and fucking with the apes and like force evolving us and like giving us powers for something? Is that kind of like the where it came from? Not like a literal apples for apples, but like the idea of like a higher intelligence coming down to early man and like doing something here, which was in vogue in the early 70s.
Yes, I think with Chariots of the Gods, which came out, I think, in the late 60s.
Yeah.
And, that continued on, In Search Of, their very first In Search Of specials were on Von Daniken, other things like it, Ancient Aliens, which is now its own cottage industry that's kind of insufferable. But I think so, but isn't the whole like when Uluxel was taking like all of his tribesmen together, it seemed like he was trying to use them to amplify something to give himself power. I don't think he was coming down and like, here, this is for you. Like, I'm benevolent and I'm going to give you this. It seemed like there was a selfish intent all along.
Okay. I guess I didn't pick up on that through the storytelling.
I mean, I'm not sure if that's true. That's just what I got. Only from that one scene.
Right. And I like the idea that the Hellfire Helix is a point in space, right? I'm not figuring out like what Uluxel's relationship to it is and why Earth played a role in it.
Well, I don't think it's really explained.
Okay.
So even here, it's not explained.
Okay. So yeah. Okay. So I kind of like that hint. Again, this is all PS, like that. Since that time, Ulysses has been trying to get vengeance for his tribe by killing this guy, and it's like, so they're kind of like this Sherlock Moriarty kind of thing where they're just constantly battling and whatever. I kind of like the idea that like conceptually that like fragments went into monsters and or things and mutated them into monsters. And so the Bloodstone chunks like have made monsters. And so Ulysses is killing them and reclaiming parts of this power source that are too powerful to be out there unchecked and just out in the world. And he's trying to recover them so that Uluxel can't have them, because if he has all of them, something bad happens. I like this weird note that he has where it's like, through which pass bands of energy, the energy from which all magic and all unnatural science is drawn. I love that note.
I do too.
First thing I thought was like, so, Victor Von Doom fucks with this, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is like his bread and butter. Like, unnatural science and magic, like,
that's his
those
whole
are
deal.
his jam.
Yeah.
So he would love this. I wonder if they've ever done that. Like him going after Bloodstone gems.
I don't know. That'd be cool.
Shards. Anyway, yeah, so I guess like, final thought-ish type of stuff. Ultimately a pretty unsatisfying issue. Hard to put a lot of blame on Warner or Sonny, because Sonny drew, inked, and lettered it in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
John had to cram down something he'd been walking around the streets of New York thinking about for months into 18 pages. It's a worst case scenario for everybody.
For everybody.
So it's hard.
Involved.
It's hard to really bash it, like, but I've looked ahead here and there over the years, and I've seen what the Rampaging Hulk backups are, and they're gorgeous and they look amazing. So it's like, if these two issues were like, if I didn't have any glimpse of the Rampaging Hulk backups and these were the two things I had to go on, I would say I don't have a lot of high hopes for what comes.
No, and what a forgettable character it would be if
Yeah.
this was our only exposure to it. And so, yeah, you're right. It's hard to blame any of the artists involved in these two issues because, yeah, everything was working against them.
Yeah.
But just the fact that, yeah, Warner did create, I mean, it is an interesting character, and we did get kind of a cool origin. It was very choppy and kind of hard to parse in a lot of ways, but
Yeah.
I still think, there is that draw. There is just like even what a young Matt Howell thought of just this cool looking fucking guy with a gem embedded in his chest that fights monsters. Like at its core cellular level, like that is fucking cool. So it's just him not being able to really convey all that he wanted to.
Right. And it's almost like, the way we got that origin story, this issue was like a fever dream, like hyper cut postmodern, like, just like flashes of stuff where it's like just suggestions of ideas, suggestions of whatever. So like, it's still up for development into cool stuff. Like it just, again, it was bad circumstances and pretty disappointing outcome. Like panels here and there that I dug. I love when he was fucking schooling that woolly mammoth and like just stuff like that. And I love the gem world stuff. I love all of the fight sequences where he's fighting the possessor inside of that false world. But
it's very cool.
But yeah, it wasn't a super fun read. And
no, but
it's hard to see Sonny look rushed. I love
that was hard. I mean, we really love Sonny, and he did a great job on so many other things. So yeah, it was a little painful to see that the unevenness of his artwork was not his fault.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny to even see that like admitted in the letters, like thing, just like, I think it turned out pretty good.
Yeah, it turned out very well.
So, yeah, I'm stoked to move on and see like, okay, somebody has had the vision to do Rampaging Hulk. And I don't know if you've ever read Rampaging Hulk, but I read some of it. But I know that like, it was a magazine that happened black and white. And the concept is canon wise, it fits between the cancellation of the Hulk's first short-lived series and his what did he end up in? Tales to Astonish? He had like 5 issues of his own book, got canceled, and then he showed up in like a book with Ant-Man or something, right? Like
Tales to Astonish.
Tales to Astonish. So like these stories all canonically happen between that time period. So fans were confused at the time, like, why is he talking like in this way? And it's like, because this is 1964, like in Hulk's chronology.
Okay, so between like the Kirby Ditko Hulk and when he came back.
Yes.
And, yeah.
So all the Rampaging Hulk stories happened in that slot of time, but it wasn't clear to people. So fans were kind of confused and frustrated, but I thought it was awesome that Marvel did the magazine.
That's cool.
It has this backup in it, which is I'm super excited to read for the first time. I've just, again, flipped through it and done some screen grabs of like panels I love. And just, I know it's going to be awesome. And I know you're going to love it.
Cool.
So there's that. And then there was that early Bill Sink Moon Knight story, which when he was still kind of doing the Neil Adams vibe.
I love
that story.
Yeah, that's great.
So Rampaging Hulk, I'm super excited to get into. And I can't wait for like Bloodstone to come in. I think, I don't know if you're interested in doing like a quick, like 10-minute video, just looking at that Nick Fury Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. 2, just where they're doing the King Kong ripoff movie. Maybe just do as a little kind of bonus thing.
Sure.
But other than that, I think we should just dive right in and just get into the real shit. I know that Brad's hanging around. I know that he and Brad's his Bruce Jones like guy.
Yeah.
So, like they're linked at the hip. So like, yeah, I love that idea too. Like the two faded characters, and he's bashful.
He is bashful. He's bashful Brad. So yeah, no, I'm excited. I think this is going to be good. I'm glad, we got this out of the way.
Yeah.
This was, it was important. It introduced the character, introduced the, chronology and the story. So I'm glad we did this work, but I feel like the fun stuff is coming up.
Yeah, I agree. And so most of these stories are about 16 to 18 pages, these backups.
Mm-hmm.
We'd love to hear from you guys. Like, we obviously kind of plowed through this one because the art was kind of rushed, and obviously Warner was cramming a bunch of ideas into 18 pages. So we didn't want to belabor it and just kind of hang out and give it the laborious treatment. But so let us know what you thought about the length of this thing and whatever. But I think we should try the next one as one episode, and if it feels long, or we feel like we're rushing ourselves, or it feels like it's too long, then we'll consider new tack.
Yeah, and I would be curious, all the feedback that we can get from you guys is very important and helpful.
Yep.
I would love feedback. Yeah, after this episode, maybe after the next one, to see like, yeah, do you want us just completely focusing on one issue per episode? We can also break it up into two if you want more of just kind of what the classic bonus show was. Us just, talking about what we did, talking about what we're listening to, what we're watching, anything like that. So I would like to try and get a mix of both, but it feels like, we want to keep the bonus shows at a certain length for Matt's sanity. But we also want to give people, we want to give you, what you want. We want to make a good shadow show for everybody.
Yeah. So again, like you and I have talked offline, so we're letting people inside the bullpen here. So these don't take that long to edit, really. So like the last episode, the Pat Boyette part was like the majority of the editing work for me.
Yeah.
So like doing a visually driven thing with like comics art doesn't take a lot of time. So I want to make it what people want it to be. So if they want it broken up into chunks and they would prefer a 16-page backup story as 8 pages, and then us talking about a watch along we did or something at the library, let us know. If you just want us to plow ahead and just have this be truly like the idea of this was to be the Shadow Show was supposed to be like, you support us, so on the off weeks you get a full show. Like,
yeah,
so
exactly.
Our normal show is 90 minutes typically, 2 hours. So like if that's what it is, that's what it is. It's not extra editing time for me, really.
Okay.
The deep editing time is like when I'm pulling up stuff and like pulling in artists and clips and whatever else. But like when we're doing the actual just comics, like that's super easy for me. That's super fast. Okay. As fast or faster than audio editing.
Wow, that's so strange. I would have never guessed that.
Yeah.
But I guess you've just done it for so long, and that's, I'm assuming, well, I don't know. You said that your work moved into like audio podcasts for a long time. So yeah, I don't know. I guess I didn't realize that.
Yeah. No, the comics thing where I'm doing the zooms and the whatever and resizing, and that is like almost unconscious to me at this point. I can almost do it without thought.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I do like doing the part that's like the Boyette stuff. Like I was proud of that. Like I think that turned out pretty good. Like
it turned out great.
Bring in, the little clip of Dungeon Hero and like blah blah and like his different art. Like I do like doing that, and I want to do that. So like it is work, but it's something I want to do and I'm proud of. So yeah, I want this to be the thing that the people want, I guess. So you're always going to hear people say, well, I want it short. Well, I want it long. Well, I want it to be less this. Well, I want it to be more of that. Like, I understand that, but it still matters because we're making it for these folks. So, like,
yeah. No, I'm very curious. I mean, I would really want, and people have been really great and giving feedback and stuff, but I would love for as many people as possible that listen to this bonus show and watch this bonus show to really let us know what you think. And if you have any ideas, if you have anything that you'd like to let us know, please do, because, we've built a community here on Patreon, and we've become great friends with nearly everyone that engages with us on here. And so it's our community, and it's a community that Matt and I both feel very strongly about, and we want to serve that community, and we want to do good work. So any hints you can give us would be greatly appreciated. Definitely.
And as we said on the main show, like this is where we're nudging towards for season 7, and we've probably said this before, but we don't have anything on the map for after season 7, and as Jacob said, like we're not going to do this forever. So season 7 is the end of the road as far as we know. So, we'd like to make season 7 be the best it can be. So this is the opportunity for you Patreon folks to tell us like how you want to consume that season, the Atlas Seaboard season, because I'm super excited for it.
Yeah, me too.
We've been saying this like for almost a year now. Like I can't so excited for Atlas. There's so many amazing contributors to that. I love the idea of hopping around like we did in season 5, but just doing like a cop thing, and then like a a Muck Monster book, and then a gothic romance magazine, and then like I'm so excited about season 7. I just
Well,
can't.
yeah, like you were saying, I mean, I feel like it's the culmination of everything
It
that
is.
we've done. And I mean, as to how, I mean, the Bronze Age buffet season was so well received
Mhm.
in a way that I wouldn't have predicted.
Yeah,
Like I was just like, I don't know, like going from here to here to here, and I didn't know. I didn't know if people would follow it, and I didn't know if they would like it, but it seemed like all of you loved it.
Yeah.
And so that gave me, confidence to go along with Matt on the season 7 thing, to be like, no, maybe this is our strength. And so yeah, I'm stoked about it.
I feel it's also like a culmination, like you're saying. Like I'm really gratified when people say like, I didn't pay attention to like the creators on the creator page, like the splash page, whatever, like until you guys start talking about them. I didn't know, oh, that's that person, that's Sal Buscema, that's whatever. And so I feel like 7's a culmination also in like this is like old home week. Like
It's everyone.
they pulled everybody who wanted a living wage away from Marvel as a fuck you to Stan Lee. And like it is this parade of like every goddamn name we've talked about since 2020, the
Yeah.
people that we've gushed about how much we love them. They're all going to be showing up writing, drawing, inking, coloring this stuff. Like it is one guy shot his wad for 2 years and just threw money on artists and said, make Marvel mad.
Yeah, that's it. It's like, do you want to fuck with Marvel? Here's a living wage. And everyone's just like, yeah, carrying Goodman on their shoulders, just being like, yes. And then it collapsed. But yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, this is, I'm excited. I'm excited for the future.
Me too. All right. Well, we didn't love this, obviously. So it was a natural stepping stone and a place we had to get to jump off to the proper Bloodstone saga. We have established the origin of this character that's fascinating, and we have some amazing art coming up. I can't wait to for you to see some of the stuff that's coming out, this black and white art, and it's all John Warner, so he did get to fulfill his vision. So
that's cool. So he's the only writer.
Yep. As far as I can tell.
Fucking awesome. I love it.
Yep.
Cool. Well, no, this was good. Yeah, this was very satisfying. I'm glad we spent the time to get this intro done, out of the way, and now we can just now we can enjoy.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
Cool. Like I said, both Matt and I would love any feedback that you have. So yeah, contact us on socials, on Patreon. You all know how to get a hold of us. So
you do.
Yeah. This is your show, so tell us how we can do it best.
Yes.
All right. So much love to everybody. Hail Satan.
Hail Satan. That's the bonus show.
It is. Calm yourself, little man.